Welcome to the RXL Media YouTube channel. I'm excited to begin to share my work and skill set with you all, and hope that my content is something you'll find both entertaining and valuable. So I wanted to kick off the launch of the channel today with a fun series I'll be calling Design Shop. I'll be coming up with ideas for products, posters, and really anything that has to do with design, and take you through my creative process all the way to the finished product. Sound good? Alright, let's head into the shop. So how about we start things off with a children's fruit juice design, a brand I've called Super Orchard, a healthy, organic alternative to other juices. I wanted to go for a light-hearted, hand-drawn, adventurous vibe for this brand. Lucky for us, I've already created one out of two designs I'll be showing you today. Later, I'll be taking you through the creation process for our second flavor. The first juice flavor we have here is called Rad Raspberry. I'll go out on a limb here and say that you can probably guess the flavor. When creating this, I had to keep in mind a few essential elements of the box design. Since our flavor is raspberry, I figured that I needed a raspberry mascot doing something adventurous or rad, and the first thing that came to mind was surfing. So there's our art direction. Then, the title of the juice brand, Super Orchard. I thought it sounds very kid-friendly and upbeat. Next, I added the text all natural above the brand name and the text for kids under the brand name. I found that using different fonts helps draw the viewer to each element separately so all the information wouldn't just mush together. Then, we also need a clear distinction of the flavor of the juice. I used a container shaped like a juice splatter to hold our flavor, written in a grungy font to represent the radness, so to speak. Next, I thought that the bottom sand would be an appropriate place to put more quote-unquote legal details, such as an indication that the juice is organic and contains zero sugar, along with the official classification of what this product is and the amount of juice in the box. With all of these core elements completed, I extended the scene to the side of the box and added a nice blur with the headline "Surf's Up" and some copy about how great our product is. Stuff that we're all pretty used to. So with all these core elements in mind, let's walk through creating another one of these Super Orchard juice box designs from scratch. Keeping on brand with our theme of adventure here, let's create our next flavor, Out of This World Orange. I immediately knew that our art direction would be some kind of space scene, complete with gaseous clouds, distant planets, and our orange mascot peeking out of a rocket ship. I wanted to go with a gradient background for this one. I envisioned a beautiful combination of pink, peach, and orange hues that would make our outer space scene pop out on the shelves. Next, I copied and pasted our brand title along with the all natural and for kids text, and the container for the flavor text. I wanted the flavor text container to vary from the Rad Raspberry, but I didn't immediately come up with something, so I simply just changed the font, the color, and painted a basic shape as a placeholder. Sometimes these things just don't come to you, and it's frustrating, but what I've learned is that you just have to sit on it a bit and be patient. The idea will come to you eventually. I knew I had to incorporate our rocket ship somehow, so I imported a 3D model of a rocket from Envato Elements. If you didn't know, Envato is a subscription database for assets for designers, video producers, and the like. We're not sponsored by Envato today, but if you're in need of stock images, fonts, templates, graphics, pretty much everything a designer needs, then I recommend you check it out. It's also where I got the juice box mock-up in today's video. It makes it super convenient and easy to edit different sections of the box and keep everything pretty organized. After I pasted our info from Rad Raspberry onto our new design and changed the text, I got the rocket ship into position and traced over it with solid colors to give it that light-hearted hand-drawn feel. I used a solid brush with a high smoothing value to have control over the drawing since I'm doing this with a mouse. I then added some shadows and details over the base of the ship and the wings as well. By this time I was feeling ready to draw our orange mascot because I knew he would be peeking out of the rocket. I again used a solid color adjustment layer to draw the little guy. After giving him a leafy hairdo, I tried to go full on cuteness overload for him. I mean, just look at those eyes. And to give him an extra precious touch, I went in and painted some freckles too. I then wanted to give our background some interest, so I went in and duplicated and inverted the colors on our original gradient and painted in this strip of what I envisioned as some kind of nebula. At this point, I also changed the flavor text container into a splatter of orange juice, which I wasn't too thrilled with at first, but you'll see the composition of the design changes drastically later. It was time to give our little orange friend a window to peek out of and finish off this rocket ship. Using a clipping mask and some inner shadow, it looked like he was now nestled inside of our ship. The top of the design was looking pretty barren, so I went in and painted some gaseous space clouds and started to plot out the basic shapes for our planets. My vision had this planet looking similar to Saturn with a nice ring around it, so I flattened my brush and painted that in as well. Then I adjusted the colors and faded the bottom of the planet into the clouds. After finishing up our first planet, I went ahead and duplicated it and moved it to the other side of the box. I changed the color to green, which I didn't think matched that well, but I wanted to differentiate the planet by moving its ring vertically, similarly to another planet in our solar system. Look it up! Uranus does actually have a vertical ring. Now I went back in and adjusted the planets and their colors and added some very subtle land masses to each of them. For the final touches to the sky, I drew a simple star shape and duplicated them in clusters around the top of our composition. I really liked the concept and the color choices at this point, but I really wasn't too sold on the composition. After trying to experiment with painting in smoke or flames or whatever was coming out of the rocket's exhaust, I did some rearranging. My new idea was to make that swoosh nebula gradient the exhaust path that came from the rocket. I felt it was a clever way to combine the two elements into one cohesive composition. This also meant shifting the flavor text container. Part of the nebula was erased to give it a more trail-like shape, and I also gave the info at the bottom a nice juice splattered text container. Oops, I also didn't notice that I didn't actually complete the wing on the rocket, so I duplicated the other wing and placed it in the correct orientation. I also fixed Orange Buddy's orientation as well, and added some details to make it look like he was behind glass. For now, our front box design was finished. Next it was time to make the side and the top of the box. I wasn't going crazy with this side. I copied and pasted our gradient for the top and the flaps, and I copied the Rad Raspberry blurb to the side of the box. I changed the headline from Surf's Up to Far Out, and replaced the surfboard with our rocket ship. I also changed up the emphasis color too. For the last leg of the design, I extended the rocket trail to the side of the juice box to make it flow as one scene, as I did for Rad Raspberry, and I duplicated the gaseous clouds as well and flipped them so the design would be flush. I added in a new star pattern for the side of the box too. And boom, just like that, another flavor of the Super Orchard brand done and dusted. I tweaked the flavor font to give it a more space look that matched the rocket imagery. Then, our final task was to make a simple background to display the two drinks. The gray void that came with the template was far too flat for the adventurous nature of the juice boxes. I grabbed a wooden texture from Envato and began adjusting the perspective to match the original template and the orientation of the juice boxes. This took a little time since perspective is difficult to eyeball sometimes. After a lot of fiddling, I was happy with the perspective and moved on to adding in a background. I felt that a kid's theme setting like a playground would be appropriate for the juice box showcase. I played around with the perspective and scale again with this image and added blur to both the image and the wooden table. But I felt that this playground image was a bit too distracting and took away from the juices themselves. So I swapped out the photo for another playground photo. And hey, what a coincidence too, because the colors of the background sort of matched the colors of the juice boxes. The last thing I did for the background was added a vignette to bring back focus to the juices and adjusted the blur to my liking. The next day I actually went back in and tweaked a few more elements, both on the background and the box design, like removing the reflections on the table and adjusting the rocket trail. And there we have it, folks. 2 juice boxes for a little one that's the best of both worlds. Tasty and refreshing with no artificial additives, 0 grams of sugar, and 100% real ingredients. Who knew healthy could be this out of this world? Thanks for watching. My hope is that you enjoyed watching me design this fun, quirky kids juice drink, and picked up a few tips, tricks, and inspiration along the way. Stay tuned for more Design Shop and visit www.rxlmedia.com if you're interested in seeing more of my portfolio work. Until next time, take care.